Hello Year 3. Today we're going to continue our work on inference. But before we do that, as we often do, I've written a sentence at the top of the page and I'd like you to try and improve this sentence in one or two different ways. So the sentence says, the girl went into the library. The girl went into the library. As always, it does make sense. It is a correct sentence, but we can just improve it to make it a little bit more exciting. I'll give you a quick reminder of some of those things we could do to improve that sentence. Possibly changing the verb, changing the doing word, adding in some nice adjectives to describe the objects, possibly start the sentence in a different way, or extend the sentence. A few different things we can do to improve that sentence, and I will do the same. So pause the video and see if you can improve this sentence in one or two different ways. You can write those sentences down or you can just think of them. Welcome back, Year 3. I'm sure you came up with lots of fantastic ideas. I'll just read mine to you. After dark, the quiet girl stepped into the dusty library to find the secret book. So I have tried to do all of those things. Add an opening to the sentence, saying when it happened, after dark. Added some describing words in, quiet and dusty. Changed the action word, the verb, from went to stepped. And also extended the sentence slightly, added an ending to the sentence. So well done if you improve that sentence in one or two different ways. We're going to continue talking about inference today, which we did in our previous lesson. Remember, when you're making an inference, you're making a clever guess. You're using the information in the text and your own knowledge to come up with answers, to come up with conclusions about what's happening based on what you've read. So it's like having a clever guess. We can't just copy something out of the text. We need to use the text to think of our answer, to find the answer. I've got a few examples on the board and then you'll complete the task yourselves. So let me just read this first one to you. Harry swam around the bowl. Suddenly, some flakes of food dropped into the water above him. So the question is, who is Harry and how do you know? You may want to pause the video for a second to think about who do you think Harry is and how do you know? Let me read it one more time. Harry swam around the bowl. Suddenly, some flakes of food dropped into the water above him. So who is Harry and how do you know? Pause the video and let's see what you come up with. Hello, Year 3. I haven't written my answer as a sentence. I've just put some notes onto my page just to remind me. So I thought that Harry was a fish. You may have disagreed, but I've used the information in the page, in the text, to come to that conclusion. I thought Harry was a fish, and the important thing is to say why. Because he was swimming in a bowl and there were flakes dropped in. Often fish are fed little flakes of food. So that's why I thought Harry was a fish. Let's have a look at the next one. I'll just move my screen down slightly. The phone rang. Sam picked it up. He looked confused. He apologised and put the phone down. So why did Sam look confused and who do you think called him? Or what happened on the phone, in that phone conversation? What do you think happened in that phone conversation? I'll read it one more time. The phone rang. Sam picked it up. He looked confused. He apologised and put the phone down. Have a think. Try to think, why do you think Sam looked confused and what happened on that phone call? And I'm going to pause my video and put my answers onto the board. So you can pause your video and see if you can think of an answer. Hi, Year 3. Again, I've just put some notes onto my board here. I haven't written a full sentence. So I thought that Sam looked a bit confused because he didn't recognise the voice of the person that was calling, and it was probably a wrong number. And the reason I think this is because he looked confused when he picked it up, so he wasn't quite sure who was calling, and also he apologised and put the phone down, like you probably would if somebody accidentally called you. You might say, sorry, that person doesn't live here, or I think you've got the wrong number. So I think that's what happened. think that was possibly a little bit of a tricky one, but well done if you did come up with the same answer as me, or you came up with your own answer based on the information. One more on the board. The lights flashed on the van. It raced to the accident. 2 men in green uniforms jumped out. So who were these men and how do you know? It's so important to use the information in the text to say how you know. Let me read it one more time. The lights flashed on the van. It raced to the accident. 2 men in green uniforms jumped out. So who do you think these men are and how do you know? See if you can think of an answer while I add my answers to my page. Sorry if I've squeezed my writing into the bottom, we can just about read it. So I thought these men were paramedics and I thought they were driving an ambulance. And my reasons for that is, it says they were driving a van, and an ambulance is similar to a big van. They went to an accident, which is what an ambulance would often do if somebody was hurt. And they wore green uniforms, like a paramedic would often do. And it also says they jumped out, which shows they're probably having to go quite quickly to get to the scene to make sure everyone is okay. So that's why I thought they were paramedics. And again, I've just read the sentences, used my own knowledge to get to that answer, to come to that conclusion. And that is what making an inference is all about. So for today, you have this activity. It says opening night. You have to read the text and answer those questions. And again, these are mainly inference questions where you're using the information on the page and your own knowledge to come to your conclusions, to think of those answers. And if you happen to finish all of those 8 questions, you could then write the next 3 or 4, 5 lines from this story. Say what you think would happen next. I am going to read the text at the end, but lots of you may just want to read it yourselves now and carry on the activity by yourselves. But I will read it for anybody who would like to hear me read it through first. Opening night. Tim took another deep breath. Inside his chest, he could feel his heart pounding like a bass drum. Again, he took slow, deep breaths and picked up his script. Flicking through the pages, he read through his lines quietly to himself, mumbling under his breath. All his hard work over the last few months had been for tonight. Crossing his fingers tightly, he wished for good luck. Tim, are you ready? You're on in 2 minutes, said Mr. Smith. I think so, sir, said Tim in a shaky voice. Don't worry, you'll be fine, Tim. Break a leg. Slowly, Tim stood up and made his way towards the heavy red velvet curtain. He pulled it to the side and stepped through. So that was that text that you will read through again and have a look at and see if you can answer those questions. We'll be on Google Meet if you'd like to ask me any questions or check any of your work. Look forward to seeing you, Year 3. Thank you for listening.